Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Ryan Garcia has announced he will be fighting Manny Pacquiao next. He was supposed to fight Luke Campbell, then get an opportunity at Devin Haney for the WBC World Championship in the lightweight division. Now it seems like he's going to move up to welterweight to challenge Manny Pacquiao. Now this is down to a social media post that he put up on his social media. This is what he said in that post. A dream turned reality. It's an honor to share the ring with Manny Pacquiao. I will always respect what you did in and out of the ring. Here's to the best man winning. So, it hasn't necessarily been officially announced, but it has been announced by him himself. So, Ryan Garcia spoke about fighting at Gervonta Davis because he was previously going to fight Devin Haney, but he said that he wants to make the big fight. So, Devin Haney should fight Teofimo Lopez and he'll fight Gervonta Davis instead, so that the winner of those two fights could fight one another to see who is number one in that lightweight division. So it was supposed to be Luke Campbell, then Devin Haney, then possibly Teofimo Lopez, but it has now gone on Luke Campbell, then potentially Gervonta Davis, because that was a bigger fight than the Devin Haney fight, even though that could have been for a world title. He's chasing these big fights, the legacy fights, the career defining ones, instead of chasing the belts, because he said he wants to be retired when he's 26, so he has a lot to cram in to his short career. So if you factor that in, he wants to take the toughest tests now, so Gervonta Davis, but then he spoke about this bigger fight, one that is much bigger than even Gervonta Davis. It seems like now that has been confirmed to be Manny Pacquiao. Now of course Manny Pacquiao was also talking himself about potential fights against Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, Conor McGregor, which has now fallen at the wayside. If you consider what happened to Conor McGregor over the weekend, he lost to Dustin Poirier in the UFC. So Conor McGregor won't be fighting Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao must go a different route, and it seems like he will be going with Ryan Garcia as opposed to Errol Spence or Terence Crawford. Now, we cannot say Manny Pacquiao cannot do what he wants, because he can. He is world champion after all, and he's a legend, so he can do what he wants. Of course, Errol Spence wants to fight him, and Terence Crawford wants to fight him. They should be fighting one another. They shouldn't be looking for a Manny Pacquiao fight when the fight to make is against one another. Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence is the biggest fight in that welterweight division. That is the one they should be working towards, not trying to deviate from that and try and face Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao's doing his own thing. The winner of that fight could fight Manny Pacquiao, but there should be no reason for Errol Spence to be fighting Manny Pacquiao before Terence Crawford. Because why? The big fight is between those two. They are supposed to be the new era of welterweights. How can they not fight one another? That cannot go by them, because that is the career-defining fight for both fighters. Errol Spence has the better resume over Terence Crawford at welterweight, but Terence Crawford, you would have to believe, would likely be a favourite going into that fight. At least I would put him as a favourite. But Errol Spence is number one because of who he has fought in that division. That's not Terence Crawford's fault necessarily, because he cannot get the big fights on a top rank because they don't have the fighters to put in front of him. So what does he do? But this fight must be something that happens. They cannot just go and try and fight Manny Pacquiao instead. Yes, it's a big fight, a career-defining fight against a legend. Who wouldn't want to fight Manny Pacquiao if they are looking to build their legacy? That is of course why Ryan Garcia wants to do it, but these guys need to fight one another. Ryan Garcia obviously would be jumping up to welterweight to face Manny Pacquiao, but he's a big guy, he can do that. Does this fight make sense? Not necessarily, because obviously Ryan Garcia is a lightweight and he's in a good position to potentially fight Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, and he would be jumping up. But then again, he's spoken about retiring when he's 26 and going a different route, building this legacy by taking the biggest fights, not necessarily for the world titles. So if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. If he doesn't necessarily want to chase these big undisputed dreams or anything like that, then the Manny Pacquiao fight is still for a world title, the WBA Super Championship, in the welterweight division. So it's a big fight against a legend that would be great for his legacy, and considering he's got 4 years left, he's 22 now, turning 23 soon, so he's got 3 or 4 years left. These fights need to happen if Ryan Garcia wants to retire at that point. He needs to take these big tests. And the exciting thing is Ryan Garcia is someone who can punch extremely hard. He has great body work, but also has shown this era of vulnerability, especially in the Luke Campbell fight where he was dropped in the second round, but has shown an incredible amount of heart and resilience to continue and end up knocking out Luke Campbell It takes someone quite special to be able to do that, especially in their step-up fight when they are 22 years old, to be able to be dropped, get back up, get back on the front foot and start pushing Luke Campbell back, and then go and get the knockout. That does take something different in a fighter, something maybe we didn't consider Ryan Garcia to have because we've never seen it before, but now we have. So going into a Manny Pacquiao fight, we have a potentially vulnerable Ryan Garcia, but someone who can also punch very hard and works great to the body. Manny Pacquiao, we don't need to talk about his skills and abilities. We've seen them displayed constantly over the past, 20 years? The only thing about this fight happening is it would be obviously at welterweight, and Ryan Garcia is currently lightweight, so he would be jumping beyond the super lightweight division, jumping up 2 weight classes, I guess you could say. So he will never come back down to lightweight. If he does, he will never be the same again. Although he is young and he hasn't done it before, but you never see a fighter go up, then successfully come back down, especially 2 weight classes. I believe that if he were to come back down, he would need to slot in around super lightweight. You don't want to be jumping up to welterweight, putting on that extra mass, then coming back down and dropping the weight, because fighters don't often deal with that very well. We've seen it in the past. The only one I've ever really seen do that successfully, continuously, is Floyd Mayweather Jr. And the reason behind that is because he didn't really bulk up that much anyway. He weighed in for a fight at 154. I think it was against Conor McGregor at 149. So he would often not bulk up to that weight anyway. He would stay at a lower weight so he could come back down. And his game plan was never to be the bigger man in the fight anyway, just to be the cleverer man and smarter. This is chess and not checkers, so Floyd Mayweather was able to do it. That does not mean that Ryan Garcia would be able to, which means the fights with Devin Haney, the fights with Gervonta Davis and Teofimo Lopez do fall at the wayside for Ryan Garcia, and maybe they don't happen. Teofimo Lopez will happen, I think, but it will happen at a higher weight class. If this actually happens at welterweight, then Ryan Garcia is not jumping back down to lightweight. He will struggle to do so if he does, so I don't see that happening. Teofimo Lopez is a bigger guy, so he will likely jump up to super lightweight. He's previously spoken about fighting Josh Taylor, which would be a great fight. So maybe Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez could meet in the super lightweight division, or maybe even welterweight by the time it happens. Devin Haney, also a bigger guy, could move up, but maybe that won't happen now. And Gervonta Davis, not big enough for welterweight, not big enough maybe for super lightweight. So the Gervonta Davis fight, the one he was previously talking about, seems like it won't happen. It seems less likely now than a Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez fight. And that possibility of Ryan Garcia not fighting those guys is a shame, because imagine that, Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez, the winners fighting one another. That lightweight division was on fire. But if he goes to welterweight, then he gets the opportunity to fight the WBA champion in that division, but not just that, the legend of the sport, Manny Pacquiao. I cannot imagine anyone around that weight class who would not want Manny Pacquiao on their resume, so if you factor that in, you cannot blame Ryan Garcia for making this decision. But guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.